This is the first animation I ever made. And this is some of my more recent animations. Safe to say, I improved just a little bit. Now, from just the quick look you got, you can tell my animation style is influenced by early 2000s Western TV shows and flash animations. But I've got a confession to make. I'm a weeb. Looking at my other videos, or even my own room for 2 seconds, should tell anyone this. I mean, I even have VTuber figures. I'm too far gone. And, like any weeb, I watch anime. A lot of anime. Some that are good, some that are bad, and some I enjoy and would rather not talk about. But I've always wondered if I could make my own anime. And so, that's what I set out to do. For the next 30 days, I would be working on my own anime. But not of an original work by me. No. Instead, I'd be making an anime of a series full of drama, incredible storytelling, blood, guts, and more. Oh yes, I'm talking about Yotsuba. Despite the fact that Azumanga Daioh, a series by the same author of Yotsuba, has an anime adaptation, there hasn't actually been one for Yotsuba in the over 20 years since it started serializing. But we change that today. So first things first, I needed to figure out what I was going to make exactly. An actual 12-episode season with 22-minute long episodes made in a month was obviously out of the question. Unless I was employed by MAPPA. So instead, I opted to make something like a teaser anime trailer, still showcasing some of the memorable moments in a short minute-long animation. I figured I could make it so the first half of the teaser was in black and white, as if the manga panels were coming to life, and then a transition into a more polished and colorful presentation for the second half of the animation. And so, about an hour and a half of pondering how to lay everything out, this was my storyboard. This is extremely crude even for storyboard standards, but as I was the only person working on this project, I figured it was okay to have it be a bit more messy than my usual storyboards. With a general outline for how the anime trailer would be made, it was now time to actually start making this thing. To start off, I found the different manga panels that I was going to animate and plopped them into Toon Boom as a reference. At this stage, I was still not sure if this was actually going to be a feasible project, worried that I wouldn't be able to make something that would actually look good. But, casting that doubt aside for just a moment, I had to at least try. First was Fuka and Yotsuba riding a bike. Not exactly the easiest thing to start off animating, but I went in and found some reference footage of what a bike being ridden would look like, and with that made a very basic outline of the movements. Now that I've got the movement for the animation down, it was time to see if I was truly up to the task of making an anime. So now, I had to take this stick figure and add some meat to it. And after many hours, this was the result. Not to toot my own horn, but when I finished this rough animation, I felt a new surge of energy flowing through me, like maybe, yeah, you know what? Maybe I can do this. This took me 4 days. So without any dilly-dally, I moved on to the rest of the manga scenes. Some were easier than others, like this shot, and this shot, where I was able to pull 2 images as references for keyframes. This way I had a clear idea of what the start and end points for the animation would look like. Tracing over these drawings and then adding some anticipation and filling all the in-betweens was a much easier task than only working with one keyframe. And for other scenes, like these two, I went back to my stick figure method so that I could quickly get the movement down before adding onto it, which seemed to work out great. And finally for the manga shots, was little Danbo blasting off again. This was an interesting one, as I wasn't afraid of animating Danbo, as he is the most basic assortment of squares and rectangles. Rather, I was concerned on how to animate the smoke billowing out from underneath our rectangular friend, as I haven't really delved much into effects animation before. And for that, I went to Sakuga Buru, a website dedicated to posting amazing Sakuga animation from a plethora of different anime. And searching around, I found this shot from Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken that had what I was looking for. Ironically enough, this anime's whole premise is about a few amateur teenagers trying to make their own anime. Go figure. Referencing how the start of the clouds formed, I started animating my own, and from a certain point onwards continued without the reference as I continued to draw the frames, making sure the clouds would interact with Dumbo after it took off. And this was the end result of that. Not too shabby. After around 2 weeks, all the rough animation for the first half of the teaser was done. Still got another 2 weeks left. Wow, I think I could do this! So, what happened? Well, a combination of seasonal depression, email after email sent out to different jobs with no response, my 23rd birthday reminding me that another year has gone by without any of my aspirations coming to fruition, and just my general drive to work on much of anything slowly fading, I felt myself get stuck in a bit of a rut. At this point, 30 days had come and gone, clearly marking the failure of this supposed challenge. Alongside this, I was struggling to animate the second half of the teaser, finding myself getting easily stuck on problems that should have been simple to problem solve. I felt a bit like a failure, especially since I had animated longer cartoons than this in less time before. At this point, I was still working on the project, but at a snail's pace, opting to spend more time queuing up League ARAM games, watch anime, or endlessly watch YouTube videos and live streams. I couldn't help but feel a bit depressed about the whole thing.
You dumbass! Kick logic out and do the impossible! Don't believe in yourself. Huh? Believe in me! Believe in the Kamina who believes in you!
What the hell am I sulking here for? Why am I feeling sorry for myself? I know I'm better than this. Besides Kamina, who isn't real, sadly, I do have others in my life that are real, that do believe in me. Showing some of my work in progress to my friends and hearing not just their praise, but their critiques and hopes for my future started to help me get out of my funk. And while this may seem a bit dumb, watching Gurren Lagann during this depressive episode of mine and seeing not just the insanely impressive and captivating animation, but having some of its core messages burrow its way into my heart, made me want to start to believe in myself a bit more. And even if there somehow was no one to believe in me, then I have to believe in the me that does believe in myself. I have to believe in the me that believes that I can finish this project, that I can go even further beyond this, constantly improving my animation and art skills, going even further beyond what I thought I could even do a few months ago. And after a few weeks long depressive episode done, I was back on the grind. Still struggling with some of the animation in the second half, I went and recorded reference footage of myself to get a better idea of the motion the characters would be moving in, and went back to a simple stick figure rough to get those basic motions down. Done. Now on to making this sucker look like a real anime. I was working much faster now, a newfound motivation driving me forwards, and before I knew it, I had all the roughs for the second half done. After many hours of tedious cleanup, coloring, and shading, I was starting to get something that I actually liked. I also needed to create a quick but fun looking animation for the logo, and using basic squash and stretch principles, I came up with this. I made this in like 2 hours. I definitely felt my drive was back at this point. And since this whole challenge was to initially focus on trying to animate something resembling an anime, I opted to go to Google Maps, take a few screenshots, and work some Photoshop magic to make backgrounds that had sort of a watercolor feel to them, without having to go through the trouble of drawing them out. Maybe figuring out how to make anime-style backgrounds can be a video for the future. Now, what I had so far looked good, but it still needed a little more to really make it look like an anime. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of Adobe products, but I knew if I wanted to make this look even more like an anime, I'd have to suck it up and take the plunge. Loading up all the different line art, color, highlight, shading, and background layers, I had everything I needed in After Effects. First, I changed the shade layers to multiply and the highlights to a hard light. Then add a bit of Gaussian blur and voila! Now both of these elements meshed well together with the base color. But there was still more to do. Next, I grabbed a gradient ramp and applied it to the base color, so that it felt as though the sunset was actually affecting the Yotsuba, and she wasn't just all one flat color. Then I grabbed another gradient ramp, and then another, and then another. I used a lot of gradient ramps during this. Finally, adding in one more gradient ramp to light up the background just right, I had a finished product. Repeating this task with all the other shots proved to be a simple feat, as I mostly used the same settings and methods for each one. Finally hitting render and praying that After Effects doesn't crash on me, I had my completed shots. At this point, I was almost there. Just a little bit of editing, making sure the song syncs up with the video, adding in the logo at the end, and it was done. The full teaser can be watched on my channel or by clicking the link in the description. I won't lie, I felt relieved to be done with this project, but I also felt something else when I finished this project and was watching it over. A sense that this could have been so much more. I won't lie, there are many shots in this animation that I think came out great, and I learned a lot through this process, but I can't help but feel that I could push myself even further than this, making something even more awe-inspiring and in an even shorter amount of time. But maybe that's just the plight of all artists, never being satisfied with one's work, always wanting to push even further beyond. But that's alright, cause I'm not done yet. I've still got more in me. And so long as I believe in the me that believes that one day I can make something even 100 times better than this in the future, I'll keep going. Writing this all out in the script does feel a little bit corny, but I wanted to convey my true feelings about this project because I easily could have lied about this and said that the project did only take me 30 days to complete with no hiccups along the way, but that would be doing a disservice to not only you the viewer, but to myself. So regardless of how wishy-washy my thoughts are on this project as a completed work, I'm very glad I pushed myself with it and learned a lot of new stuff along the way. And what the hell are we even doing with our time if we aren't constantly learning and trying new things, even if they don't always work out? And I want to make sure that I always keep that in mind, anytime I pick up that tablet pen, or with anything for that matter. So thank you for watching my journey over these last 2 months and listening to my story. If there are any other manga that don't have anime adaptations that you think should, let me know in the comments. I'd love to take another crack at this challenge with something even more difficult. I've got a few manga in mind already. But regardless, I hope that this video can inspire some of you to try something like this out, or, even if you're not the artistic type, to try and push yourself to learn new things that you've been putting off for months or even years now because you might be scared of failing. Because, don't worry, you will fail, but you'll get back up, and you'll be better for it. And, before you know it, you'll have reached your goals and looked back on all the times you screwed up or lost your way and wondered why you were even worried in the first place. And if that isn't enough to convince you, in the wise words of Kamina, believe in me who believes in you. And someday, when that's not enough, don't believe in the you that believes in me, and don't believe in the me that believes in you. Believe in the you that believes in yourself. In about 1 week's time, I'm going to be traveling to Japan for nearly 2 whole months and bringing a shiny new camera along with me. So subscribe if you don't want to miss my misadventures in the land of the rising sun. Akihabara, beautiful nature, cafes, vending machines. All of this and more will most likely be in my upcoming vlogs. And if you're a fan of Hololive, as I am, well, to be on the safe side, you should probably subscribe to me in the meantime, so you won't miss out on these vlogs when they come out. In the meantime, though, I'll see you bodacious buccaneers very soon. Sayonara.